"I think I need space," she said, not even flinching. The silence that followed didn't feel real. I just blinked at her like she was speaking a different language. We were 27 days out. The florist had been paid. Her dress was already tailored. My parents had just wired their final deposit for the venue 2 days earlier. "Space?" I asked, stupidly, like maybe I'd misheard. She nodded, slowly, like she was afraid I might argue. But I didn't. I just stood there holding the jar while the entire idea of my life cracked in half inside my head. I'm 32. I write code for a living, apps, mostly. Nothing glamorous. But I've always been the guy with a plan. Steady. I met Haley 4 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday thing, one of those crowded bar nights where you never expect anything real to happen. She laughed at one of my bad jokes. I offered her my fries. That was it. And we worked. God, we worked. Sunday morning coffee runs. Quiet dinners. Her reading next to me while I debugged stuff late at night. It wasn't flashy, but it felt solid. Intentional. We talked about everything, until, apparently, we didn't. The month before she dropped that line, she'd started feeling off. Not in any big way. Just quieter. Her replies to texts slowed. I'd ask about cake flavors and get a shrug. She was still affectionate, but it felt like she was doing it out of obligation, like she was performing Fiancé instead of being Haley. I chalked it up to stress. Weddings are pressure cookers. We both work full-time. Her mom had been on her case about guest lists, and mine kept forwarding honeymoon ideas like we were planning a damn expedition. I figured she just needed air. I didn't see it coming. So when she said, "space," I thought she meant like, a weekend. A pause. Maybe she'd go stay with her sister, reset, come back. But when I asked, trying not to sound like I was begging, she said she didn't know how long. "I just need to figure out what I really want," she said, softer this time. My throat went dry. I could feel something sour rising in my chest, like acid. "Do you not want to marry me?" I asked, and I hated how desperate it sounded coming out. She didn't answer at first. Just looked down at the floor, like the answer was lying somewhere between the tiles. "I don't know," she whispered. That should have been my cue to walk away. But I didn't. I stood there like an idiot, watching her leave with a duffel bag and a promise to talk soon. She kissed my cheek like it was some casual goodbye, like we weren't supposed to be writing our vows this weekend. The worst part was, I still didn't let myself believe it was real. I told my friends it was a hiccup. That she just needed time. I kept the RSVP site up, answering questions like everything was fine. I even called our photographer to confirm the timeline, like I could will this thing back to life through sheer denial. But the apartment felt wrong. Her shoes by the door started collecting dust. Her favorite coffee mug stayed clean. Every time I woke up alone, I told myself it was just temporary. I wanted to believe that. I needed to. Because the alternative was that she didn't want me anymore, and she just couldn't say it out loud. The first week without her felt like a test I didn't study for. I kept checking my phone like something might change, like maybe I'd missed a message, a call, anything that would make this make sense. But there was nothing. No missed calls, no texts. Just silence. The kind that eats your thoughts alive. I left her name in my favorites. Left her toothbrush in the cup by the sink. I couldn't bring myself to touch her side of the bed. I even refilled the Brita, which was her thing, not mine, because part of me kept expecting her to walk in and thank me for remembering. My friends tried. They really did. Pete invited me out to trivia night. Sarah brought over takeout and sat with me through a few episodes of some trashy dating show I couldn't follow. They told me to give Haley time. Cold feet is a thing, Pete said, half drunk on IPA. She probably just panicked. But I didn't see panic in her face that day. I saw distance. Measured, planned distance. Then, a few days later, she liked one of my Instagram posts. An old one from last summer, a picture of the two of us at a Rockies game. It wasn't even a great photo, blurry and overexposed, but she hit it with a heart like she was trying to tap on a window from the other side. The next night, at 2:14 a.m., I got a text, "Thinking of you. Hope you're okay." That was it. I didn't know what to do with it. I stared at my screen for almost an hour. Should I respond? Should I ignore it? Was this her way of reaching out, or just her checking a box? I finally typed, "Miss you too. Can we talk?" But I never hit send. I just saved it in my drafts and went to bed feeling like a coward. By the second week, I started seeing her in strangers. A flash of her jacket on the light rail. Someone laughing like her at the bar near my building. My brain kept playing tricks on me, filling in the silence with memories I hadn't asked for. Then came L. It was a Thursday. I only remember that because I was trying to force myself out of the house and went to an art gallery opening a friend had invited me to. Something small, local, photography and free wine, the kind of thing Haley would have loved. I went alone, hands buried in my coat pockets, mostly just wandering between prints pretending to care. I was standing in front of this black and white photo of a cracked sidewalk when I heard someone say my name. "Are you Tyler?" I turned, and there she was. Tall, dark curls, navy pea coat, confident smile. Something about her face felt familiar. Not in a way I could place, more like déjà vu wearing lipstick. "I'm Elle," she said, offering her hand. "I'm Haley's cousin." I blinked. "She told me you might be here," Elle added, like that would explain anything. I shook her hand out of reflex. "Her cousin?" She nodded. "From New York. Just in town for a bit. Thought I'd finally put a face to the name." Her voice was smooth, friendly, easy, like we were already mid-conversation. I tried to play it cool, but inside, alarms were going off. I'd met Haley's whole family. Christmases, birthdays, Zoom calls during the pandemic. Not once had I heard about a cousin from New York. Not once. We ended up talking for a bit, mostly about the art, Denver weather, her supposed plans to explore the mountains before heading back east. But it was the way she talked about Haley that got to me. Too casual. Too confident. She mentioned little details like the nickname Haley's dad used, or the way she always ordered her coffee with one ice cube in summer. Intimate stuff. Stuff that doesn't come up at family reunions. And then she said it. "You must be the other one." She laughed after she said it, like it was a joke, like she'd misspoken. But the words just hung there between us. The other one. Like I was a category, not a person. Like there was someone else. I laughed too, but it was hollow, forced. "What do you mean?" "Oh," she waved it off. "I just mean, Haley's told me a lot about you. It's just nice to finally meet the infamous fiancé." I smiled, but my stomach was churning. When I got home that night, I couldn't stop replaying it. Her tone. Her eyes. The way she'd said Haley told her I might be there. Haley hadn't texted me in days, but she was giving Elle my location. The next morning, I checked all of Haley's social media. No sign of Elle. No tags. No mentions. Nothing. I even searched old Facebook comments. Still nothing. It was like Elle didn't exist, at least not the way she said she did. And yet, she knew things. Things you only learn from time. By the next morning, I couldn't focus on anything. Not work, not food, not even pretending to be okay. My brain kept looping back to that moment. "You must be the other one." I tried to brush it off, tell myself I was reading too much into it. Maybe Elle just had a weird sense of humor. Maybe I was paranoid. But it didn't feel like paranoia. It felt like something under my skin, humming just beneath the surface, waiting to be confirmed. I opened Haley's Instagram again. I'd already scrolled through it the night before, but this time I slowed down. I started looking at the backgrounds and photos. The names tagged. I searched for Elle, Elizabeth, EJ, anything that might tie back to that woman. Nothing. I tried LinkedIn next. Nothing. Even Haley's Facebook friends list, which was private now, but I remembered it used to be public. I dug through my old screenshots from when we were planning the seating chart, trying to remember who sat where. No Elle. Then I searched Haley's name in Google Images. And there it was. A photo from about a year and a half ago. Someone had reposted a group shot from a Pride festival. Haley was there, front and center. Smiling. Her arm was around Elle. They were holding hands. It wasn't just a, "Hey look, we're friends," hold. It was that quiet interlocking kind. The kind people use when they think no one's looking but still want to feel connected. My throat went tight. I clicked through to the original account that posted it. It was private, but the thumbnail preview showed another image, just Haley and Elle, laughing in front of a food truck. The caption read, "Some people never really leave." It felt like the room tilted. I told myself it didn't mean anything. That people post cryptic stuff all the time. But the voice in my head, the one I'd been ignoring since the night she said, "Space," got louder. It was the same voice that had noticed her sudden silences, the way she flinched when I talked about honeymoon plans, the tired look in her eyes whenever someone asked about the dress. I texted her that night. Just said, can we talk? I saw something that's messing with my head. She took 3 hours to respond. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. What did you see? That pissed me off more than it should've. I didn't want to have this conversation over text, but at that point I didn't care. I sent her the photo. The one with the hands. I waited. She read it. Then nothing. The typing bubble blinked, then disappeared, then blinked again, then nothing. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, heart beating like a drumline. I couldn't decide if I wanted her to deny it or admit it. I just wanted the lie to stop. Finally, after what felt like forever, she replied. Elle is complicated. She's family. But it's not like that. Please don't overthink this. We'll talk soon. Complicated. Not like that. That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. That's when I knew she was lying. The next few days were a blur. I started checking Elle's name daily on Instagram, hoping her account would go public. I searched through tagged photos on other people's pages. Old coworkers of Haley's. College friends. I even tried reverse image searching Elle's face just to get a last name. And I started remembering things. Stupid little things I'd brushed off at the time. That girls' trip Haley took last winter to Arizona, the one where she didn't FaceTime once. The long phone calls she'd take out on the balcony late at night, saying it was her cousin dealing with a breakup. The inside jokes I was never let in on. The necklace she wore sometimes that I'd never bought her. I thought I was building a life with someone who was just planning a way out. Or maybe not even that. Maybe I was just the safe option. The box checker. The stable one. And Elle was the one she never really let go of. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I'd open our wedding spreadsheet and stare at it until my eyes blurred. I was supposed to be picking songs for the first dance. Instead, I was deep in a rabbit hole of online stalking and second-guessing the last 4 years of my life. Then came the final confirmation. A friend of mine, Sarah, sent me a DM. She said, "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but I saw Haley out the other night. She wasn't alone." Pretty sure it was the same woman from the gallery. I just stared at that message for a long time. I didn't even ask what they were doing. I didn't need to. I didn't plan what I was going to say. I didn't map it out or rehearse anything. I just got in my car and drove. It was late, almost 10 p.m., and I hadn't heard from Haley in 3 days. Not after I sent that photo. Not after I asked again if we could talk. Not even a meaningless check-in text. Just silence. The same kind that had been swallowing everything we were supposed to be building. She was still staying at her sister's apartment downtown, or that's what she told me, anyway. I didn't even know anymore. But that's where I went. And when I pulled up, I saw her car parked in the lot. Right next to another one I didn't recognize. I didn't knock at first. Just stood there in the hallway, staring at the door, trying to breathe. I felt this heat crawling up my neck, the kind that tells you whatever happens next is going to change things permanently. That there's no going back. When I finally knocked, it took a while. Then I heard footsteps. Then the door opened, and there she was. She looked surprised, but not shocked, like she'd already run this scene in her head. "Tyler," she said, almost gently. I didn't say anything. I just stepped inside. She didn't try to stop me. I looked around. The lights were low. There was a throw blanket on the couch, 2 mugs on the coffee table. The place smelled like citrus shampoo and something warm lived in. I turned to her. "Is Elle here?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Her mouth tightened, just slightly. "No," she said, finally. "She left a little while ago." I nodded. Didn't believe her. "You lied to me," I said, and my voice didn't even sound angry. Just tired. She sat down, slowly, like her knees were giving out. "I didn't mean to," she said, which somehow made it worse. I stayed standing. Then what was all of this? The space? The texts? The likes? What the hell was I supposed to think? She looked up at me, eyes glassy. "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't plan for this to happen. I swear." I laughed. Not because it was funny, just because I didn't know what else to do with the noise building in my chest. "You didn't plan it?" I asked. "You just happened to fall back into something with someone you conveniently forgot to mention existed?" Her lip trembled. "It wasn't like that. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. And you knew you were doing it the whole time." She stood then, suddenly all nerves and shaking hands. "I didn't know what I wanted, Tyler. That's why I asked for space. I was scared. I thought if I could just step back, maybe I'd see it clearly. I stared at her, waiting. And? I asked. She swallowed hard. And I realized I've been lying to myself too. About what I want. About who I am. I felt something sink in my chest. A quiet, final sort of weight. So this wasn't about cold feet, I said. This was a trial separation. A test run. She didn't argue. She stayed here, didn't she? I asked. Haley didn't answer. But she didn't deny it. That was enough. I nodded again, slower this time. I felt like my skin was made of glass, like one wrong move and I'd shatter on her floor. You know what hurts the most? I said. It's not that you found someone else. It's that you let me keep hoping. You let me think this was fixable. She looked like she wanted to speak. To fix it. To soften the blow. But I held up a hand. Don't, I said. Please don't. I walked to the door. Every step felt heavier than the last. Tyler, she called out, voice cracking. I turned the knob. Paused. You could have just told me, I said, without turning around. You owed me that. And then I left. No slamming doors. No dramatic speeches. Just the sound of my own footsteps down the hall and the quiet click of the lock behind me. I didn't cry that night. I thought I would. Thought I'd fall apart the second I hit the car, or maybe halfway down the hall, but I didn't. I just drove home with my hands clenched so tight on the steering wheel I could feel my nails digging into my palms. The apartment was dark when I got back. I didn't turn on the lights. Just stood in the doorway and listened to the hum of the fridge and the silence she left behind. I don't know how long I stood there. At some point, I walked to the bedroom and lay down without taking off my shoes. The sheets were cold. The next few days were a blur. I texted our wedding planner and told her it was off. Called my parents. Told my boss I needed a few days off. Every conversation felt like scraping my throat raw with a spoon. I couldn't bring myself to say the word cheated, even though that's what it was. Not in the traditional sense. But emotionally. Spiritually. It was betrayal, top to bottom. I expected anger. Rage. Some kind of explosion. But mostly, I just felt hollow. Like the part of me that had been fighting to hold everything together had finally given up. People started choosing sides, quietly. Mutual friends sent carefully worded texts. Some of them said they had no idea. Others said, I always thought something was off. A few ghosted entirely. One friend, Jamie, called and said, look, I don't want to stir things, but I think she and Elle were together long before the break. I think you should know that. And that hurt more than it should have, because deep down, I already did. I started noticing things I'd ignored. The playlist we made together had a bunch of songs I'd never heard before, soft indie tracks, all heartbreak and longing. I found out later most of them were Elle's. Songs Haley had said she'd found, on a blog. I deleted the whole thing in one motion. Didn't even think. One afternoon, I opened the drawer where we'd stashed the wedding favors. Little linen bags with the date stamped on them. Tyler and Haley. I just stared at them. Hundreds of tiny fabric reminders of a future that never showed up. I didn't cry when she asked for space. I didn't cry when I walked out of her apartment. But that day, sitting on the floor, holding one of those bags in my hand, I did. I broke. Quietly, alone, the way men are taught to. Like if I didn't make a sound, maybe it wouldn't count. Eventually, I packed the favors into a box. Drove them out to the dumpster behind the building. I stood there for a long time, holding the box. Then I let go. No speech. No ceremony. Just a dull thud as they hit the bottom. Some part of me thought maybe she'd come back. Not to fix things, but to explain. To say sorry. But she didn't. Not really. She sent one more text a week later. I hope you find what you're looking for. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at it for a while, then deleted the thread. That was the last time we spoke. I wish I could say I feel free now. That I'm better. Stronger. Wiser. Maybe someday I will. But right now, I'm just, here. Existing. Picking up the pieces. Trying to remember who I was before this version of my life got rewritten. Sometimes I still catch myself thinking about the way she looked when we first met. How sure I was. How safe I felt. And then I remind myself, the version of her I loved probably never existed the way I thought she did. Now I measure time in before and after. Before the break. After Elle. And in between, there's me. Still standing. Still breathing. Still figuring it out.